Again, I'm writing primarily to evangelicals in this book. I think there will be a secondary kind of audience of American religious historians, people who are interested in American religion, who want to kind of take a peek into what evangelicals are talking about. I think there's some good history in the book, though, too. One of the things I try to unpack is show how there's always been a dark side to American evangelicalism. We can talk about the way in which evangelicals have been on the front lines of anti-slavery, social justice movements, international poverty relief, all of these kinds of things. And we need to celebrate that, I think. I'm not one of these people who, I am an evangelical, so I rejoice that evangelicals are doing these things. But there's also a dark side. Even as someone like, say, Lyman Beecher, who I write about in the 3rd chapter, even as he is fighting slavery, he's also one of the leading nativists, right? He doesn't want Catholics coming in and undermining his Protestant nation. So this story goes back a long way, and I think what Trump does is he appeals to the worst side of evangelicalism in its 200-300 year history, right? Every time evangelicals, are not sort of representing the true virtues of their faith, where they fail, right? I think Trump seizes on that history. This is a history that defended the institution of slavery. This is a history that had such certainty about what is true, and they're the fundamentalist movement. I mean, this is a movement that prevented, didn't want certain kind of immigrants coming into the country. There's a long history of this. I like my fellow evangelicals to at least be exposed to that history. I think when ordinary evangelicals, lay men and women, think about evangelical history, they kind of celebrate this providential idea, right? God is with us, right? God is doing great things through people. And I think that's important. I think God does, obviously work in this world and uses people in this world, but also the reality of human sin, right? I mean, evangelicals are not immune, right? Obviously, if anyone knows better, right, it's an evangelical, right, who believes in this conversion experience to one saved from the consequences of sin, right, through becoming born again or becoming, accepting Jesus, or whatever that looks like. So I want them to see there is a darker side to the history that Trump is tapping into. Am I going to convince the 81% that they made a wrong decision? Most I probably will not, but I do believe there's some fence sitters out there, people who maybe held their nose and voted for Trump, and maybe they need to think through exactly. They may be open to thinking through a little bit more, in terms of what this man represents and what the policy decisions he is putting forth represent, and hopefully it'll force evangelicals, maybe force is too strong a word, but it might encourage evangelicals to think more deeply about political engagement. And when a politician comes along and says, let's make America great again, he's ultimately, or she, in this case he, is ultimately making a historical statement, right? So I think evangelicals have to be careful, right? When was America great? Let's go back and think about that, right? What does Trump mean when he says make America great again? And before you start using these evangelical catchphrases like reclaim and restore and let's get back to and let's bring back, the way it used to be, we need to think more deeply about exactly what it was like back then, how it used to be. So I think even if the book kind of forces evangelicals to kind of rethink even their phraseology and how what they say when they enter the public sphere, public square, I think that'll be a contribution in some ways. I'll be happy if that happens.